Hi, welcome back to the CIPS video series on sustainability in business. In the first video, sustainability was defined and a few examples were provided as to what sustainability means in a business context, mostly from a manufacturing point of view. In this, the second video in the series, we're going to look at how sustainability applies to every business, not just manufacturing. But before we begin, can you name 5 countries that are either not in debt or not grappling with the problem of unemployment, or both? Probably not. This question may seem a bit random, but it links many of the concepts highlighted in our first video with the subject of sustainability. It also helps shine a light on the importance of thinking in the long term. Most of us are aware that human population growth is increasing and becoming more affluent and living longer, all of which translates into increases in consumption, increases in demand for the Earth's limited resources, and of course, an increase in waste. In our first video, we looked at the concept of waste and explained that waste, in all its forms, is an endemic problem around the world. Let's first look at the distribution of electricity. As this model shows, as much as 70% of the energy produced from burning coal can be lost in the power plant due to poorly insulated and poorly designed furnaces. From the amount of electricity that emerges from the plant, 10% can be lost due to inefficiencies in the transmission lines. From what emerges out of the transmission lines, 10% can be lost because of inefficiencies in the motor, and so on. The end result is an enormous loss of the initial investment, as much as 90% or more. So, with all this waste and costs, how does a world filled with debt and a need for more resources, in this case energy, find the money to build billion-dollar power plants that will generate the electricity necessary to keep up with the ever-increasing energy demands of a growing population? Certainly taxes can be raised, but who wants to pay more taxes? Wouldn't it be more logical to eliminate the waste that's inherent in the overall system? If the world and its electrical distribution systems are wasting huge amounts of energy, as much as 90%, then it stands to reason that eliminating this waste would allow the existing electricity-producing infrastructure to support increases in demand without more power plants. Which is why California introduced legislation designed to eliminate wasted energy. Lawmakers in the state discovered that up to 15% of the light produced by streetlights points up into the sky, not down on the ground where the light is needed. And with more than 1 million streetlights lining California roads, car parks, and public areas, that adds up to a significant amount of wasted electricity. So the government passed a law mandating that the amount of wasted light must be reduced to no more than 6% per streetlight, which carries the potential to save the state millions of dollars every year while also reducing the state's energy needs. Meanwhile, what happens to streetlight manufacturers whose products waste more than the legal amount allowed? Well, they can no longer sell their products in one of the world's largest economies. Think about the implications that has for any waste-producing product currently being sold in a world that cannot afford the rising costs of waste. Another example, again from California, involves a study which revealed that 30% or more of the energy used in HVAC systems is wasted due to inefficient building design. This includes poor air circulation, heat buildup, and other common waste scenarios. So a law was passed mandating that the waste must be reduced to no more than 6%. Homes and businesses are now inspected to determine if they're wasting energy. Failure to comply with this law after a warning results in a fine being levied against the offender. What's more, To help building owners cover the costs of their waste elimination improvements, the state offers interest-free loans which quickly pay for themselves in the form of reduced energy costs. The result is 1, a statewide reduction in wasted energy, 2, businesses save money because the buildings in which they operate are more efficient, and 3, the state of California enjoys an increase in revenues in the form of fines levied against people and businesses that don't comply, and all without raising taxes. You're probably going to see a lot more of this, and it doesn't just apply to energy. The same principle applies to water, raw materials, minerals, and other resources. It just makes sense to mandate the elimination of waste so that more people and more businesses can be served in a given area, without the price increases inherent in resource scarcity. Indeed, when fewer resources are used, a door opens to all sorts of new possibilities. Meanwhile, the cost of waste does not end where it's being produced. Generally speaking, the more materials people consume, the more they tend to throw away. And the problem with this is that there are not enough landfill sites to dump the world's garbage, so prices rise accordingly. During a 10-year period in the United States alone, the cost of disposing 1 ton of garbage into a landfill site increased 425%. That really affects businesses. This physical waste leads to an accumulation of pollutants and toxins in water supplies, in the land, and in our oceans, which results in cleanup expenses, higher insurance costs, human health problems, degradation of the world's ecosystems, and additional negative impacts to our overall well-being. Corresponding increases in environmental laws can therefore be expected because governments, meaning taxpayers, cannot afford to keep paying to clean up the messes that this form of short-term thinking creates. Add in the costs of political and societal unrest, which is exacerbated by the unemployment and financial instability inherent in short-term thinking, and it's easy to see why thinking and acting in the long term is so important. This is why sustainability is not going away. In fact, right now, across the globe, the costs of short-term thinking are forcing an examination of how, in the near future, every business will have to redesign itself in order to compete, sustain profit growth, sustain market share growth, maintain job security, and sustain a more secure fit within the societal and financial framework that enable business survival. And once again, the starting point is waste elimination. By now, I hope a clearer picture is emerging of the costs that waste has on businesses and the effects it has on job security, resources, and our well-being. Just keep in mind that waste doesn't only take the form of the obvious examples we see in manufacturing. Waste is found everywhere, in countless forms and configurations. And whether a business is office-based, service-based, factory-based, indoors or outdoors, wherever it is and whatever it does, the people that work in it must find this waste and work to eliminate it and prevent it from coming back so as to increase the business's ability to survive in the long term. This should be of particular interest to investors, as well as those that work in financial institutions. If you're an investor and you want to see long-term returns flowing from the businesses in which you invest, waste elimination should be very high on your list of priorities. Let's shift gears so we can progress to resource life extension. You may remember that in the first video of this series, it was explained that resource life extension is the ultimate goal of sustainability. And that's because basically it's the high watermark of waste elimination and prevention. Here's the diagram that was used in our first video to explain the concept of resource life extension. Resource life extension is based on the observation that it's more profitable to use or sell 1 kilo of a substance 10 times rather than use or sell 10 kilos of the same substance only once. And just as with waste elimination, extending the life of resources applies to all businesses. For example, customers are what keep every business in business, but all too often a customer pays for a service or a product and is never seen again. Working to keep customers coming back to a business again and again and again is therefore a good example of extending the life of this most valuable of resources, customers. Similarly, developing and engaging employees so that they continuously generate cost-saving and money-making ideas again and again and again is an example of extending the life of a labor force. Renewable energy provides another example of resource life extension because the sources of renewable energy are continuous and free, which means that the equipment that converts these sources into energy eventually pays for itself again and again and again. In fact, doubling the resource life or the lifespan of anything, such as raw materials, buildings, tools, machines, or equipment, effectively cuts their purchase price in half, which in itself is a good reason to embrace resource life extension. So now imagine what can happen when businesses start working in cooperation with one another to turn the outputs from one into usable resources by another, thereby further extending the resource life of materials and creating even greater opportunities for economic growth, job creation, and waste and pollution reduction. The good news is you don't have to imagine this. Industrial parks such as Kalundborg in Denmark have been taking advantage of this concept for years in a huge display of resource life extension called industrial symbiosis or synergy, also known as industrial ecology. Here, each arrow represents an output from one business that is being used as an input by another.
To all you big corporations out there, why spend money on lawyers and lobbyists in the hope that your business or industry will be allowed to remain wasteful? Continuously creating waste and long-term costs, and then trying to dump these costs onto society is a lost cause. Privatized profits that are enhanced by externalized costs are simply not sustainable in a world that is beset with avoidable financial problems. There's just no doubt about it. The future of business involves decreasing material consumption and energy consumption while increasing profit growth, increasing market share growth, and increasing job growth, all of which helps build and sustain a stronger economy and more competitive businesses while mitigating costs and creating a higher quality of life.
Just remember that waste elimination and resource life extension do not apply only in the manufacturing sector. Manufacturing examples are used in our videos because they're the easiest way to explain sustainability. Waste elimination and resource life extension are relevant in every business, every workplace, and every industry. In our next video, the focus will be on how to apply sustainability in a business. In particular, I'll expand upon two important rules that are as simple as they are crucial to getting started. Are you interested in learning more? If so, The Sustainable Business, the book on which this video series is based, is available absolutely free as a PDF download to enhance and add to the information that is presented here. Free PDF copies are also available in simplified Chinese, Arabic, and Polish, and more language translations are on the way. Indeed, if you or your organization would like to volunteer to translate this book into your national language for free distribution, please let us know. To download a free copy of The Sustainable Business, Just visit the websites of the following organizations. CIPS is a nonprofit education and research-based organization that helps walk businesses through the beginning stages of sustainability and works with business schools to help introduce sustainability into their curricula. EFMD is Europe's premier provider of quality assessment improvement and accreditation for higher education institutes, and a leading international forum for information sharing, research, networking, best practices, and debate in management development. And the Product Life Institute is Europe's oldest sustainability-based think tank, consultancy, and research body. If you would like to purchase a printed copy of the book, in English only, contact Greenleaf Publishing in the UK. Again, printed copies are sold in English only. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.